सो हेलो एवरीवन। आज हमारे साथ शिवानी मुनोट है। सो many of you must have dreamed of getting into IIMA और many of you must have thought of कि CA के बाद MBA करना चाहिए या नहीं, और many of you must have thought of कि यार मेरे से CA नहीं हो रहा है, should I go for an MBA or not. So during this session we'll try to cover all of this question, and we'll also try to ensure that to find out a right answer, is MBA worth doing or not, and should you as a CA or should you as a CA student should think of doing MBA or not. So I would like to welcome Shivani on show, and I would really want to thank her for giving her time for the show.
Yeah, hi Shivam. Hi everybody,
Right.
whoever is watching this.
So many of the people have connected from YouTube, and few of them are from Zoom. So Shivani, we just want to know your journey. We just want to know how you landed up into getting into IIM Ahmedabad, and it's a top B school which everyone of dream of. So can you just give a brief about your journey?
Yeah, sure. I actually come from a family of chartered accountants. So CA was the natural progression post the 10th grade. So we were supposed to choose which stream, and it was commerce by default. And that's how I landed up. I graduated from Narsi Monji College.
Please जवाब दो ये okay है क्या?
Just a second.
Can you please?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll continue. I graduated from Narsi Monji College, completed my chartered accountant, and but I always wanted to go a step ahead in my educational journey and pursue an MBA. So actually, not a lot of people know, but in 17-19, I got through SP Jain at that time, but I decided to try for a better B school, or probably I mean, I'm not putting up that comparison. That's a personal choice that I made, but I wanted to give it another try. And in 1921, IIMA happened. So I was I got very lucky maybe. So actually in the like CAT 2018, IIMA was the only shortlist and then I got Lucknow, Kozhikode and all the others. But from the Holy Trinity ABC, I got only A, and that was my sole focus. That I want to convert A no matter what. So and then yes, here we are. So that's a short brief about myself. I also worked in the interim, like post my CA, I worked with IndusInd Bank as a corporate relationship manager. I also worked in my own family business where we were manufacturing profile sheets, roofing sheets, and also have a bit of experience in business valuation. So I had sort of very diverse experiences pre-MBA. Post MBA, I have decided to I am with working with Bharti Enterprises in as one of the young leaders program. So yes, that's about me.
Great. So next major question which every CA students or every chartered accountant asks is whether I should look for doing MBA after CA, and does it gonna be adding a value to my profile. So how did you decided that I should go for an MBA, or MBA is a good thing which I should do after getting CA?
Yes, that's a very fair question to ask, and in fact, very relevant also. So, you should do. So, for me, it was a lot more about my personal aspirations, and whenever I had this conversation, like from college itself, I had this that CA तो ठीक है कर लेंगे करना है नहीं करना. I wasn't really sure, but I was always sure I want to get an MBA degree because maybe the glamour attached to it, nobody in my family had done it or whatever. So that was very personal to me. But any person, like after a CA, should you do an MBA or not? That is a very valid question that a person should ask himself. And some of the criteria that one should base their decision upon is first, what sort of opportunities you want to explore. So, like if you are into auditing and you love auditing, there is no point of getting and doing an MBA. But if you want to explore a lot more fields that we'll talk about during the course, so it definitely opens up a lot more opportunities. So that is first. Second is, the network that you build. So again, coming back to the of what you want to do in your professional life. So if you want to have that network that in CA we don't really have, we just know our batchmates, our batch, whom we went to in tuitions or whatever. That is how we know them. But in IMA, you like, or any other B school for that matter, you can go and uh, add them up, look them up. There's an alum network which is very active, so that way you get a lot of support. So that's another reason to consider MBA. And third, I would say, would be the overall personality development in terms of the course curriculum that the course offers. So you have a very fast paced life. You are in and out solving case studies. Also that interaction. So CAs never have that interaction, because apart from the GMCS 15 days, so we don't really have a college life per se. If somebody wants to really look forward to having a college life, living those moments, where you are breathing, sleeping, doing everything during the day with your friends, living that independent life, definitely it's a great experience. So these will be my top three. Like, my advice would be to consider from these top three criteria to see if an MBA fits into your curriculum. So what is very important to note is, it's not the end. So your education is never the end. It is just a way to reach wherever you want to reach. So it's a medium. So keep that in mind, and decide whether MBA will suit your cause or not.
Right, right. So, as you correctly mentioned, there are multiple benefits associated with doing an MBA. So, say for example, someone who cleared a chartered accountancy and he or she is willing to get into different domains, right? So, how difficult for him or her to get into different domain if he or she doesn't have a tech of MBA? Because you being MBA, you have been working in a corporate for 5 long years, and you have explored lot of areas. So, do you find some change, or do you find something different or the people look at you being after done MBA from IIMA? So, what difference did you find after being doing an MBA from IIMA?
Yes, definitely. There is a vast difference, how people perceive you as a professional. And so basically, in an MBA, you get exposed to a lot more domains. Like, you look at HR, you look at operations, you look at finance, in a lot, like, so it's all a bit of skim through, but you have to decide what you like, and then deep dive deeper into that particular aspect. But it gives you an overview of a lot more things, so that way your horizons really expand, and your worldview also expands. And apart from that, as I mentioned, the colleagues there, all smart, brilliant people. So there's a lot more discussion, and just learning from each other. So that's definitely there. So, and that is also seen, because the grads that have graduated from all these are all very brilliant, smart people and toppers in their domain. So, and that is how it is perceived by the industry also, as and when they join. But again, it's a personal journey. It's not like, I strongly believe, it's not like a CA degree is any less. And with ample amount of networking and some efforts put in, people do get through. So I see a lot of CAs who are getting into investment banking right at the start of their career, are also getting into private equity for that matter. There are even very highly reputed professionals in these industries who have just figured out their way only with a CA degree. And that's not only, CA is also a professional, very reputed degree, if for that matter. But the kind of exposure that MBA gives you, definitely it expands your network. It gives you a ready platform where you can start exploring these opportunities easier than, I would say, with just the CA. Because in CA, people more restrict your profile to, say, audit or tax, because of course this is what the core curriculum is, and a little bit of finance, wherein, so even I did business valuations before as my pre MBA experience. So you do get such opportunities, and people with networking also get investment banking, private equity, but it's hard to get by. So it provides a ready platform. So yeah, that's the differences that I've seen. So you get a lot more opportunities in say fields like strategy or investment banking, private equity, in terms of finance, and even others. So if somebody is interested in marketing, all of those domains also open up. But of course, you have to work very hard and prove your interest. So yes, it does have a difference in that sense.
True, true. So, suppose, say, for example, I qualified as a CA and I'm willing to do MBA. So, how difficult will it be for me to study for MBA exams or CAT exams? And should I consider doing it after becoming a CA, or should I do some work at an industry? Then I should look into doing an MBA. So, how do you recommend it?
Yeah, so again, it's a personal opinion based on what I have seen. There have been CAs who have, completed their chartered accountancy and joined as freshers. So one big advantage that we have is the 3 years of articleship. If you have done, especially from a big four, for that matter, you do get a very good view of the organization and a lot of issues that happen in the organization, which helps you to absorb the content in a much better sense. So that way, of course, we do have an upper edge, but I would still recommend that at least having a couple of years of experience does help your entire uh, you know your entire profile, as you know uh, when you move ahead with your MBA. So I think 1 to 2 years, not more than that, because then it becomes quite stressed. And then I would recommend that it's better if you have more experience, do look at an MBA abroad, because Indian B schools, in my opinion, do not really appreciate a lot of work experience. A lot of them are freshers who come in, so a couple of years would definitely be the recommendation. Apart from that, in terms of preparation, what I felt was first, it's very different from our CA curriculum. CA is a lot more about depth, like getting into the depth of the subjects, and here it is a lot more about concepts. Typical differentiation between a theory or a written subjective based exam and an objective MCQ type based exam. So we, per se, always have been in the zone of competing with ourselves, because as CAs we are never competing against each other. We're not exposed to that competitive environment, but with CAT it does become competitive. To build the CAT, you have to strategize your entire paper. How are you going to solve it? You have to figure out your strengths, weaknesses, and then decide the strategy, and then eventually move ahead with the game. So definitely the preparation is a little different than the CA prep. And I would recommend, if as soon as you decide for yourself, the easier it is for you, to uh, uh, so I just missed one attempt, I guess. In 2015, when I cleared CA, I did not give the attempt. But I gave CAT actually thrice, 16, 17, and 18. And, in 18, I got lucky to actually get the A call. So you don't know. And even I have been, an academic ace throughout my career. So it's not like if you are great at, education or whatever in your academics, you're going to build the CAT in the first attempt itself. So yes, it's going to take some planning, some perseverance, dedication, all of that, which is similar to the CA exam, but the approach and the strategy is different, what I would say.
True, true. So, how do you rate in terms of putting in effort? So, you have been a CA also. You know how much effort you need to put while clearing a CA exams. So, do you require more efforts or less efforts? And in terms of a dedication, what is the level of dedication needed if I compare it with CA?
CA students are very dedicated, so they will not have an issue at all, because we are managing our college classes, we are managing our articleship, we are managing giving the final exam in the midst of all. So CA students are all prepared for something like CAT. It's just about the mindset. So if you have is that mindset that yes, I'm going to crack it no matter what, and have some discipline, which we do. But after clearing CA, we all get a little कि ठीक है चलो अब तो हो गया, अब हमको बस काम पे ध्यान देना है, तो वो that is the only thing that takes you away from cracking or the academics, like focusing on the academics. So getting back to books is difficult. So that way I think it's difficult, but otherwise I don't think in terms of preparation or in terms of dedication it is any different. CA students are already prepared for taking on the challenge of CAT, I believe, and they can definitely well it easily. The only problem is, I think, like that I faced personally was with quants, because as CA, I don't know about the current curriculum, but as CAs, we touch quants. I think after 12th, I did not, or maybe some of the BCom subjects. After that, I did not see cons as much. But here you do require the basic concepts of cons to be very, very clear. So that's one thing that needed a lot of preparation from my end. Even the DILR, because you're not really, like our subjects don't really challenge our aptitude as much, in the sense you're not challenged for your logical reasoning per se. You know that there is this particular thing, tax works in a particular manner, you know the provisions and you just apply them. So your logical reasoning do not get tested a lot in the CA, I believe, but here it gets tested a lot. So yeah, those are some of the few major differences, but with the level of dedication that we require for CA, the dedication and perseverance that we require, it's, I believe personally, it's very easy for us to make the switch and build the CAT. Just these couple of things that we have to really work hard with. So yes.
Right, right. So those viewers who have been connected with us, you can start. You can post your doubts on a chat box so that we can cover each of the doubts. है ना? Meanwhile, we'll continue with the interview. But yes, आपको जो भी doubts है, आप chat box पे post करो from YouTube as well and from Zoom call as well. So Shivani, can you just also brief us about what type of MBA programs are available, 1 year program, 2 year program, and who should look for a 1 year program, and what is the process as in once you get into, or what is the process of getting into an IMA?
Yeah, so I'll answer it one by one. So first, talking about the process, it's pretty straightforward. So you give your CAT, and if you and at that time they also give you in the CAT form only. They give you an option to apply. Tick mark whatever colleges you want to apply for. There are a lot of other exams as well with CAT. Like for NMIMS, there is NMAT, there is ZAT, there is a lot more exams as well that people can figure out with a little bit of research. So you give the exam, you tick mark all the colleges that you want to apply for, and then do your best on the D-Day. So it's a 1 day game actually. So if you are here or there, or based on that day, uh, however that day goes, suppose that you start receiving calls, you prepare for your interview. So you get about a month or so to prepare for your interview. You just go through your entire whatever you have done till date, be up to date with whatever is going on around you, and like interview, we can probably have another session to cover how to nail the interviews. But yes, so then there comes your interview day, you give it, and then comes the final admit letter. So that's about it. At IIMA, there is an entire interesting concept where you can also defer your admission for a couple of years, I think a year or so, if you want to get more exposure or experience before you get into your MBA. So the timing can, and even I think at ISB. So now talking of, so that is about, and there is also GMAT, yes, of course. That is applicable for in India. A lot of B schools accept GMAT as well, but for international students or for their 1 year program, and ISB accepts GMAT. And if you want to explore options abroad, then GMAT is the way to go about. So that's about the MBA overall structure, very brief overview. And in terms of, again, talking about the programs specifically. So 1 year programs are more catered to the professionals who have had good experience of approximately 4, 5, 6 years, 10 years, and are looking, probably for a change or getting hands-on experience on management. So it's more suited for that. So all the bigger B schools run 1 year programs, and they accept GMAT, CAT, whatever, whichever score you can apply through that. ISB accepts only GMAT, I guess. I'm not sure. Viewers can do a little bit of research on that. And they also have a 1 year program, but they have a mandatory 2 year work ex criteria. So that's about the 1 year program aspect. The 2 year programs, that are the flagship PGP programs of all these bigger B schools, have also have freshers that apply to them and have a mixed background of 0 to 2 years, 3, 4 years is the maximum cutoff that they have in terms of work experience. And I personally wouldn't, recommend going for a PGP 2 years program post having, more than 4 or 5 years of experience, because it's predominantly driven by the kind of companies that come for recruitment, right? So these are all at a junior level that they come to recruit. There is a lateral section also, but still mid managerial level sort of placement that will happen. But in your executive programs, you might get, a better opportunity commensurate with your experience. So that's the difference. But that's about it. Those are the two sorts of. There are a lot more other programs also that I would like to talk about. So there is PGP FABM, which deals with your food and agribusiness management or data analytics. There are a couple of programs in data analytics at a lot of these schools. There is also ePGP, where you do it maybe along with your existing job. But of course, the flagship PGP program is the most recognized, not recognized per se, but the most favorable, I would say, in my opinion, to get the full view of and get the most out of your MBA degree. So yes, that's about it.
Right. Right. So many of the viewers are asking regarding which college they should look into when they are doing for MBA. Either they should look for a top-notch colleges, or they should look to go to some foreign countries, or they should look for only IIMs or something sort of. So what's your take on this?
Yes, sure. So this dilemma even I had, and as I have spoken about it previously also, that I had gotten into SPGen and took that harsh decision to not take it up and then try again. So a couple of, again, it has to be based on your personal journey. So at these bigger B schools, the top B schools, of course, those are the most recommended, right? Because the kind of opportunity and the network that you will get, uh, it'll be a little, I don't know if there is a real difference, because then I did not really go to the other school. But from the industry perspective, I do feel that there is a perception that these schools are better, and the opportunities you'll get are better than the other ones, right? So it's always better to go to the best. But that said, it's not like if you don't get in one of the top three ABC, it's like the end of everything, right? So what I would suggest is, depending on your profile and the admission criteria of these B schools, say, at Ahmedabad, they really appreciate diversity. So if you have done a lot of diverse sort of things in your career, with CA, you have done a lot more things. You're interested, maybe you have done, coming from an NGO background, or, something of the chart, they would really appreciate that. At Bangalore, they really appreciate your work experience. At Calcutta, they put a lot more weightage on your CAT score. You really have to decide on basis the parameters of admission. Look at, and the criteria keep on changing, so I can't say for sure, right? So you have to do a thorough research and see where you fit in, because a lot of B schools also see consistency in your academics since 10th grade. So you have to beat the cutoff in the 10th, 12th, your BCom, your CA, and then whatever it comes to get that interview call also. So from that perspective, you have to do a thorough check of what you have been up to throughout and what's your best bet. In terms of the B schools, you already know the rankings, right? And always it is best to go to the best, right? Again, I'm repeating myself, but that is what I believe for myself. Again, the criteria that you should base whether you should go for, so based on the criteria of the B schools and your own journey till date, you can see where you fit in the best and try to aim for that. So you can probably, so I had a list of 4 5 6 schools which I had made the cutoff for myself, that if I'm not doing from these top schools, then I am good with a CA degree only. Because again, I'll repeat that CA is a very powerful degree, and it opens up a lot more opportunities anyway. So there is no point in investing 2 years of your life and also a lot of money and resources, and then
सबमिट करेगा, सबमिट करके स्पॉन्सर रिलीज करेगा गोल्ड का पोर्टफोलियो,
sorry,
गोल्ड
yeah,
का पोर्टफोलियो और गोल्ड का
can you just mute him? Yeah, so as I was saying, that
Yeah.
there is no point in
Yeah.
so do a thorough research as to where you want to be, how are you going to get there through the MBA, what are the returns that it is going to give you in the long term. Of course, it all makes sense, but that is very, very important in basing your decision to go for the right B school for yourself. And in terms of India or abroad, it really depends on where you want to be. So I personally believe that if you want to go abroad, then doing a B school abroad is the best way to go about it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. If you're not going to stay there for a longer time period, then making that network abroad is not going to help you in India. So that decision with geography totally depends on your aspirations, whether you want to stay back in India or you want to move abroad. Now there are of course opportunities either way. So after an Indian MBA, also based on your work experience and whatever, you can make the switch, but it is easier if you get a degree abroad and then just find out network and find out opportunities for yourself. So that would be the biggest criteria for deciding India and abroad. In terms of the B schools, in addition to a CA degree, please think through whether it is going to add overall value. Now going to not discouraging anything, but going to say the like post 10, like not going to the top 10 universities, but going to universities that are beyond the 10th rank, or maybe having a cutoff for say the top 15, but always aim for the best. So top 10, top 15, top 5 should be your goal, not more than that, in my opinion, because in my opinion, your CA degree is as powerful, and if you don't do it from a good B school, then I don't think it'll add a lot of value to your overall profile.
True, true. Can you also mention about how much it costs to someone when he or she is looking for a 2-year MBA course at one of the IIM, and what is a growth perspective in terms of monetary growth? So suppose I'm earning 10 lakh rupees. So will how many time X growth you can see or you would see when someone has done an MBA from some B school?
Yes, so first is the cost of the program. So cost I think all the leading B schools range around 20-25 lakhs for the 2-year program. And apart from that, you will probably have some expenses on your food or some, living experience, but that won't be too much. And I think ISB is a little higher than that for even for their 1-year program. So that people can just go and research on whatever the updated figures are, because it keeps on changing year on year. But that's not the cost that we are looking at, right? Apart from the explicit cost that you are incurring, you are also incurring a lot of opportunity cost in terms of not working for those 2 years, missing out on the growth opportunities and the work experience that you would get in those 2 years. So of course, you have to take into consideration all of those aspects as well. But if you're somebody who's earning say 10 lakhs per annum, you'll definitely see a very good jump, and not only in the short term, even in the longer period. So as I mentioned about the benefits in terms of the network, the your batchmates, that learning. So all those soft learnings that will pan out only in the longer term. It's not going to be seen in the short term, but even in the short term, you will see, at least 2.5x, 3x growth, and even much more if you choose, core finance fields, investment banking. So I don't have very, like, I am not authorized to give you very correct figures, but you ask anybody, it'll be at least no range as such, but at least you can expect 4x, 5x growth in terms of your base salary also, if you're earning about 10 lakhs per annum, depending on the field that you choose. So yes, you do get a very good growth, very good opportunities, very good network whose benefits you will be able to reap, reap out uh, in the future, per se. So definitely you should think about in terms of both your implicit explicit costs, and think about the benefits in terms of the longer perspective, and not in the shorter term only. So yes, that's how you would evaluate.
Right, right. So, right. So before we open up the forum for a public to ask the questions, those who have questions, please do post your questions on chat box so that we can cover each of the questions. So YouTube se connected hai, you do post your questions out so that we can cover everything. So Shivani, can you also tell us your experience, as in how was your experience during the 2 year of journey at IIMA? Because it's a dream for many of the CAs, right? So can you just give a few glimpses or few moments or a few best moments which you spend at IIMA, which you didn't find at a CA journey?
Yeah, definitely. So IMA, it's a roller coaster ride. So I wouldn't say that. So, it is very important, as I mentioned, to have your expectations clarified right from the beginning, and not think of it as the destination. If you think कि अब मैं IMA आ गया हूँ, अब तो मैं सेट हूँ, तो तुम जाके एकदम से अपने मुंह के बल गिरोगे. You have to. So CA students innately have that, dedication and that hard work in them. So stick to it and have clarified goal, like talk to a lot more people and understand. Don't have very unrealistic expectations of what it is going to be like. It's not rosy, it's not a very easy journey also. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि बस वो ग्लैमर देख के तुमको लगे अरे हाँ IIMA जाना है, एंड देन आफ्टर दैट यू आर लाइक कि मैं कहाँ फंस गई हूँ. तो it's very important to have your expectations right from the beginning of the program, and especially when you're starting for your journey and preparing for your CAT and for your B school admit. You have to be sure of what you want to go and how MBA is going to help you get there. तो अगर वो clarity रहेगा, तो it'll be much more fruitful, because then you will be. So I'll tell you a little bit about the MBA journey itself. It's very hectic. There are so many things that are jammed into a day, that it is power packed, and at the end of the day you will be like कि मतलब पता नहीं मैंने क्या किया और मैं कहाँ हूँ. If you don't have that clarity in mind कि what you want to focus on, if you want to focus on building network, you want to focus on academics, then you probably will miss out on something else. So it's all about priorities at a B school, and defining those priorities, which you will be able to do only when you have defined what your expectation is out of that 2 year journey. A glimpse of IMA is that at least the first year we were fortunate that we had it. We did not have the online program, and we had it on campus, so it was much more fruitful and much more different. But it does get very competitive. It does get onto you, and you want to build a support system, you want to reach onto people. That is going to be there. You have to make a lot of friends to it's not like you have to make a lot of friends. You can decide for yourself how you want to spend your journey, but definitely it helps having a support system. So I remember I had a foot fracture in my second term, just 1 week before my fracture, and I'm still grateful to all my friends who helped me out at that point in time. to move ahead from it, and give my best for the placements. And apart from that, even in our classes, everybody used to be very helpful uh, throughout. So at IIMA, we keep saying that help will be provided to those who ask for it. So I think that principle holds true in reality also. People are not going to come up to you and tell you, okay, this is my experience, this is what it is, or whatever. You have to go out, reach out, ask out, get. There are so many online resources available. So first and foremost, have a very clear expectation of what you want out of your B school, and then probably be prepared for the journey ahead. It's a roller coaster ride. It's not going to be easy. With there are so many lectures to attend, there are so many assignments to submit, and you will always be in a flux कि मैं कैसे, it's also very hard because there are 400 people who are the masters of their field, the toppers of their field. Everybody who gets in there, everybody is super competitive, super intelligent, supremely in like have their skin in their game, right? So to there will be a lot of people who will see rejection or failure for the first time. Probably a lot of people do their CA in their first attempt, they haven't seen failure at all in their academic life or whatever in personal life. You will see that it is because you are competing with the best of the best, right? So having that acceptance, having that gratitude is also like becomes very important in throughout the journey. So yes, of course there are very good aspects also. We have like at least in the first year when it was on campus, it was great, meeting, like living with your friends, going to attend classes. The entire class must be fun. There are a lot more activities that are planned. Somebody who wants to explore interest beyond their academics can also do so. There are ample opportunities available. In the online aspect, it was a little dampening because you are just in front of the screen. But IIMA did made good efforts to open it up post 6 months. So then that network again started rolling, and living with your friends, like those 2 years definitely going to be the best. Like most of the people you're going to ask, they'll say that those 2 years were the best years of my life. So so yes, to each his own, but definitely it's worth the journey is worth it.
Right, right. So, a few of the viewers is asking, Rajat is asking, what is the preparation time needed to do a CAT? And do you need any sort of coaching or it can be done on a self?
Okay, so preparation time again is very subjective because, as I mentioned, quants and LRDI, people have different levels of aptitude in these two, and even verbal for that matter. So, what I would say is take a mock test. There are a lot of mock tests available with any coaching center for free. So, before you decide to hop onto the journey of preparation, go for one mock test, see where you stand, because it's a personal aptitude test, right? Everybody has a certain level of aptitude already. It's no technical concepts at all. It's your basic 10th to 12th ka material in terms of your cons, verbal, and LRDI. So take a basic aptitude test and see where you stand and what are the, and then make a strategy for yourself. But if I want to give a average preparation time, I think 2 to 3 months, 4 months is good enough. But again, I myself took 3 attempts, as I already mentioned, but it was all in bits and pieces. I was never dedicatedly just preparing for CAT. I was always doing something or the other. But you have to make your own study plan. I think 3 to 4 months is a good time period, and give a lot of mocks. So again, we can talk about the strategy, how to crack it and everything in a lot more detail later on. What was the second question, sorry, apart from
Uh,
the preparation?
it was regarding a coaching only.
Yeah, so coaching, what I would suggest is again, it depends. In CA also, there is the option of going for self learning or coaching. So I took the coaching because I was always doing something or the other, whether my and I think it's not even advisable. Like personally, I wouldn't advise you to, leave your job and do so. Coaching takes off a lot of burden in terms of, finding out the right resources. So that way, I would suggest personally, but if somebody is comfortable with self study, then of course you can make that choice. But it's not imperative. Again, it's not imperative that you have to go to a coaching class to build the cat. It's just subjective. If you want it easier, you want some guidance, you want some coaching, you don't want to do the hard work yourself, in terms of, finding out the right resources, then go for coaching. Otherwise you can do it on your own. It's not a big deal, but give many mocks. That is very important. So maybe a couple of coaching classes. So what I would suggest is, maybe two coaching classes you can enroll for only for their mock exams. But whether you want to take their preparation and study material or not is again your individual choice, based on how much time you want to spend, because of course self study, figuring out the right resources, everything will take a lot more time.
Right, right. A few more questions which have came out. So whether it is better to give a CAT plus GMAT, or only person should focus on giving a CAT?
Again, even I appeared for GMAT. So GMAT is again a little different than CAT. um, in terms of, there are only two sections, quants, and there is an analytical writing, and another one which is a short section. But there are only two major things, that is verbal and cons. The cons is easier, verbal is a lot more difficult in GMAT. So the core thing that you have to decide is whether you want to stay back in India or you want to go abroad. If you want to go abroad, of course GMAT is way better. But if you want to predominantly apply to Indian B schools, you are good with CAT as well. So that is the key difference, and not in terms of the examination. So yes, if you want to, you are agnostic, then you probably prepare for CAT and also then give GMAT, because GMAT you can give anytime. And it'll take top up preparation of about a month or two. So yes, that's how you make your decision.
Right, right. So Rajat is asking, since you have already worked in IB firm, right? So it's better to have a CA plus CFA, or it's CA plus MBA, which is a better combination, do you feel?
Again, uh, CFA will give you a lot more understanding of the technical concepts that are being used, but MBA will give you the network, and it will open up the opportunities because of the campus placements, and otherwise also due to the network, right? So that's a choice that you have to make, whether you can network yourself and figure out the opportunities on your own. Then even with the CA, people get into IB and private equity, as I was mentioning before, right? But there are very few such individuals. So that's what. And there are a lot more. If you do a research and figure out the profile of people who are working at the top, private equity firms, you will see that most of them have had an MBA. So yes, it of course matters and gives you an edge. But it's not like it cannot be done without an MBA, because exceptions are always there. But I mean, personally, I would prefer that CA plus MBA might give you a better edge. But again, with CA plus MBA also, you would probably have will require a couple of investment banking experience to make that move to private equity, because on campus, and it depends, year on year on campus, we did not have a lot of private equity firms coming in. And that is the case every time, because see, private equity anyway hires very less, so the openings are very less, the teams are very lean, opportunities are lesser that way. So people, the best of the best go in there, and it is difficult to get in. So with MBA, you get the platform, you get the network, you can make your way through. But if you can do that on your own, then good, like you're good with CA plus CFA also.
Right. Right. So, a few more questions. Should we prefer MBA from IIM only, or only from IIM ABC, or should you look into different? So, I think we covered this.
Yeah, I
Udaynath is
think we have
asking,
already covered this,
and
so you can have a
yeah,
look at it.
yeah, yeah. So, Udaynath, if you rewind the interview, you go to the starting part, you'll find most of the questions we try to cover it. Rajat is asking for CA. Do we need less percentile as compared to engineer due to diversification?
Yeah, very interesting actually. So yes, that's what I said, when I mentioned ke research karo and figure out how much would you want. So that was actually true. Now I don't know. So that is what, I can't give you a very general opinion without having researched on it. So, and that is what I would preach also. But mere time pe 2 years back, definitely CAs had an edge and we did require a lesser percentile. But as you know, it depends on the competition again. So abhi when people, lot more CAs are getting inclined towards getting an MBA in the past 4 5 3 4 years, wo kafi बढ़ गया है, where lot of CAs are looking forward to doing an MBA. And see, in your cohort, if CA start getting 99.99, then you will have to compete with him to get that seat, right? At the end of the day, there is only one seat. तो वो डेफिनेटली था पहले, बट अब वो सिनेरियो कैसा है, आई एम नॉट श्योर. दैट इज आई विल नॉट मेक अ जनरलाइज्ड कमेंट. प्लीज गो थ्रू विच एवर योर शॉर्टलिस्टेड कॉलेजेस आर दैट यू वांट टू एम फॉर, एंड देयर वो लोग देते हैं एक डिटेल्ड क्राइटेरिया और हाउ दे आर गोइंग टू मार्क. And you see what points you are scoring in terms of your 10th 12th and BCom or whatever graduation degree. Do they have some points for diversification? वो भी वो लोग mention करके रखे होंगे for WorkX. So they do have a criteria that keeps on changing again year on year based on their admission policy. So I would strongly recommend, please put in that effort of researching and deciding based on that. But overall, this is true. If you come from a different background, like we are coming from commerce background, CA background, so definitely thoda sa competition used to be lesser than the engineers, and come percentile mein people got in. So at 98 99 percentile you get through almost all the colleges. तो हाँ, मतलब होता है वैसा. बट फिर भी टू बेस्ट योर prospects, please aim for the best percentile, highest percentile.
Right, right. So Rajat is asking last question regarding for 2 year program, does work experience matter?
Again, as I mentioned, they have matlab this also I think we have covered a bit. We have an edge because we have 3 years of articleship, so we do understand the organizations and how it works. But a couple of years of work experience post CA is ideal. Matlab max 2 years I would suggest. I had a little higher, approximately say 30 33 months. But it's good to have a couple of work experience, and especially in a relevant field where you want to get in. So it just adds a lot more to your profile, when you're going in for the summer placements and the final placements, right? So from that perspective, but it's not mandatory, it's not mandatory to have experience. If you have a strong stellar profile that you think will stand out, maybe a ranker throughout or whatever, we can take that maybe later on in some session. But if you do have some you have already have a stellar profile, you think, then and you will stand out, then definitely your work experience does not matter, because you already have 3 years of understanding. So in terms of understanding the curriculum, it will not be a challenge at all, in my opinion. But having those couple of relevant work experience really works in your favor, because it makes you stand out when you go for your placements. So and of course a couple of again, going through the admission criteria, couple of B schools also have better points for. So like IIMA, I was saying, has this deferral policy only because of the fact that they want to encourage people with work experience. Even I think Bangalore or Calcutta for that matter have some points for the work experience, number of work experience that you have, and in all those your CA articleship does not count as work experience. So yes, from that perspective, you might want to get some work experience before getting onto your MBA journey.
True, true, true. So to summarize, I can say that if you, those who is willing to get into IIM, or those who are willing to do an MBA, the advantage of doing is कि you get a good network, you get a good alumni platform where you can connect to hell lot of people, and it's a long life bonding or long life partnership with the people which you have connected in.
Exactly.
It's a 2 year journey which you'll enjoy the most during the your life. You cannot miss it out, and. Again, growth perspective say yes, there is a huge growth potential provided you work in this domain, and provided if you do the thing seriously, so there can be a growth of say 5x or 10x also, because I have also seen people growing into a huge packages after they have done an MBA. And also those who are willing to change their domain, say for example, if I want to start something in marketing, so it's very difficult for CAs to get into different domains after being a CA tag, and you want to start something on your own or something new. So it's always good to have done an MBA, because that's definitely add an advantage to you. And people also feel like यार ये तो MBA वाला बंदा है, इसको बुद्धू नहीं बना सकते, और he's too smart that he knows the things, right? So this is the thing which someone should consider, those who's willing to do an MBA. Definitely it was gonna be adding a value to your profile, and that 2 year is like a golden era or golden part will be in your life. So whenever I say 2 year, I can see Shivani smiling and remembering those golden memories.
Definitely.
Right, right. So I think अगर किसी को कोई भी doubt है, तो you can post it out on comment section. And जो Zoom पे है, आपको कोई doubt है तो हम off the session अभी cover कर लेंगे. So अगर कोई भी doubt होगा, please do post out in the comment section, and do refer this video to your friends, so that those who are planning to do an MBA, or those who are planning to do something in this domain, so this will help them out. Also, I would like to thank Shivani for her time.